Imagine walking into a Nike store and seeing a shirt carrying the name of a young tennis player from the Philippines. Not Carlos Alcaraz. Not Jannik Sinner. Not Aryna Sabalenka. Alex Eala. The shirt reportedly sold out while merchandise connected to several established Nike tennis stars remained available. That does not automatically make Eala a global superstar. But it proves something important. Her story is already creating extraordinary emotional and commercial interest. In August 2026, Alex Eala is no longer simply a promising player waiting for her breakthrough. She is a WTA champion. She is a national record breaker. She is one of the most talked about young players in tennis. And at the US Open, Nike is presenting her as a player with a story much bigger than the scoreboard. This is the story of why Nike is betting big on Alex Eala, and why the 2026 US Open could become the defining chapter of her rise. Alexandra Eala is a 21-year-old tennis player from the Philippines. Her journey to the top level of tennis has carried enormous expectations. Few young players on the WTA Tour have received the same level of support and attention that Eala has received from Filipino fans. That support is connected to more than talent. Eala represents a country with a deep passion for sport, but without a previous WTA Tour-level singles champion. Every important match has therefore carried a national meaning. At the 2025 US Open, Eala already made history. Ranked number 75 at the time, she became the first Filipina to win a US Open main draw match when she defeated Clara Tauson, then ranked number 15 in the world, in a dramatic deciding set tiebreak. That victory introduced Eala to a wider tennis audience. But one match does not establish a career. The next question was simple: could she turn the promise of a breakthrough into consistent results against the world's best players? In Washington, she gave her answer. The 2026 Mubadala DC Open became the tournament that changed Eala's career. She entered the event ranked number 28 in the world and reached the biggest final of her career. Along the way, she defeated several seeded and highly respected opponents. In the semifinal, she faced Naomi Osaka, a former world number 1 and 4-time Grand Slam champion. Eala did not merely survive the occasion. She defeated Osaka in straight sets, 6-4, 6-2, in 1 hour and 16 minutes. The victory sent Eala into her first WTA 500 final, and her second tour-level final overall. Waiting for her was Jessica Pegula, the world number 3 and the top seed in the tournament. Pegula had already won titles in Dubai and Charleston, and was one of the most consistent players in the draw. On paper, the final looked like a major test of whether Eala was ready for the highest level. Then the weather made the challenge even more difficult. The final was interrupted by rain and had to be resumed later. Eala was trailing by a set, but she was still alive in the match. The score was 4-6, 3-2 when play resumed. Many players would have struggled to regain their rhythm after a delay, especially after losing the first set against a player as steady as Pegula. Eala responded differently. She fought back to win the second set 6-4. Then, in the deciding set, she took control completely. Eala won the final set 6-0. In total, she won the last 8 games of the match, completing a 4-6, 6-4, 6-0 comeback. That was not just a first title. It was the first WTA Tour-level singles title ever won by a player from the Philippines. For Eala, it was the biggest achievement of her career. For Filipino tennis, it was a historic moment. And for Nike, it was the kind of breakthrough that turns a sponsored athlete into a marketing story. There was a clear emotional power in that Washington final. Eala had lost the opening set. Rain had interrupted the match. Across the net was the world number 3, playing in front of an American crowd and trying to win another major title. But instead of allowing the moment to become overwhelming, Eala used it to find another level. Her aggressive ground strokes became more effective. Her control improved. Her confidence grew with every game. After the match, she stood with the trophy as the first Filipina to win a WTA Tour singles title. That image carried a meaning far beyond tennis. It was a young athlete standing at the end of a difficult journey, holding proof that the expectations surrounding her were not unrealistic. They were the beginning of something real. The Washington title also gave Nike a perfect message. Eala's success was built through patience, pressure and persistence. That message appears directly in her US Open merchandise. Her Nike shirt reportedly uses the Filipino phrase, "Kung may itinanim, may anihin," which translates as you sow, so shall you reap. The collection also includes the message, "Kapag lumago, hindi na hihinto," never stop flourishing. These are not random slogans. They turn Eala's clothing into an extension of her story. The Washington title was the biggest moment, but it was not an isolated result. Before defeating Pegula, Eala produced a run that included wins over major names and seeded opponents. She defeated Naomi Osaka in the semifinal. Earlier in the event, she also defeated Elena Svitolina, Leylah Fernandez and Qinwen Zheng, according to tournament coverage. The Osaka victory was especially important because it showed that Eala could handle a player with Grand Slam experience and global recognition. Then came the final against Pegula. A young player can sometimes reach a final through a favorable draw. But Eala's Washington run gave her something more valuable, evidence that she could repeatedly defeat high-level opposition. That is why the attention became so intense after the tournament. Nike already had Eala under contract. The brand did not need to introduce her from the beginning. It could show her as an athlete who had already delivered a historic result. Soon, the story moved from tennis courts to social media, retail and international marketing. Her Nike US Open collection received attention. Her customized shirt reportedly sold out. And her appeal expanded beyond the Philippines, especially among fans across Asia and Filipino communities around the world. The important point is that Eala's popularity is not based only on appearance or nationality. Her popularity is being reinforced by results. After Washington, Eala continued her hard-court campaign in Cincinnati. Her tournament ended with a loss to Amanda Anisimova. Eala won the opening set, 6-4, but Anisimova came back to win 4-6, 6-4, 6-2. At first glance, a defeat after a breakthrough title might appear to slow the hype. But the context matters. Eala was competing against a strong opponent, and she had already won a major title only weeks earlier. A single loss does not cancel out the Washington achievement, particularly when the player remains competitive and has already demonstrated that she can defeat elite opponents. The Cincinnati result may also highlight the reality of Eala's current stage. She is still developing. She is learning how to manage the physical and mental demands that come after a career-changing victory. The pressure is different now. Before Washington, opponents may have viewed her as a dangerous young player. After Washington, they know exactly what she can do. Every opponent studies her more carefully. Every match attracts more attention. Every result is analyzed as evidence of whether she can sustain her rise. That is the challenge of becoming a star. The hype does not disappear because of one defeat. Instead, the defeat becomes part of the larger story, how Eala responds when the first wave of success is followed by the pressure to repeat it. Nike already has two of the most recognizable young men's players in the sport, Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner. Alcaraz is a Grand Slam champion and one of the central faces of modern tennis. Sinner is also an established elite player and one of the names expected to headline the 2026 US Open. Eala is not yet at their level of achievement or worldwide commercial scale. But Nike may not need her to replace them. The stronger strategy is to build a generation of stars around them. Alcaraz and Sinner represent proven success at the highest level. Eala represents the next wave, a young player whose story is still developing, whose market is expanding and whose biggest achievements may still be ahead of her. There is also a difference in identity. Alcaraz and Sinner are global champions with broad international appeal. Eala brings a distinctive connection to the Philippines and Southeast Asia. That gives Nike access to an audience that is emotionally invested in her success. Her US Open kit reflects that approach. The design includes Filipino references, including a Sampaguita-inspired hair accessory and visor. The message is clear: Eala is not being marketed as a generic young athlete. She is being presented as Alex Eala, a Filipino player with a global future. When Eala returns to the US Open in 2026, she will not be the same player who arrived the year before. In 2025, she was ranked number 75 and making history with her first main draw victory. In 2026, she arrives after winning a WTA title and defeating the world number 3 in a rain-delayed final. Reports have placed her around the world's top 20 and indicated that she could become the first player from the Philippines to receive a US Open main draw seeding. Verification needed until the official 2026 US Open draw and seed list are confirmed. What can be confirmed is that Eala is officially listed for the 2026 US Open, scheduled from August 30th through September 13th in Flushing Meadows, New York. She is also set to appear in the mixed doubles event with Felix Auger-Aliassime, according to tournament-related coverage. That gives her an additional opportunity to be seen during a tournament where attention is already enormous. But the singles draw will remain the main focus. The question is no longer whether Eala belongs on this stage. She has already proved that she does. The question is how far she can go. At the time of this script, Eala's specific first-round opponent and confirmed singles match schedule for the 2026 US Open have not been verified. Verification needed: official draw, opponent, court assignment and match time. What can be confirmed is that the tournament will begin on August 30th, 2026, and run through September 13th at the USTA Billie Jean King National Tennis Center in New York. That uncertainty is important to mention because a documentary should not present an unconfirmed opponent or schedule as fact. But regardless of who stands across the net, Eala's first match will carry a different atmosphere from last year. She will enter with the expectations of a champion. The opponent will know about her Washington run. The crowd will know her name. Filipino fans will be watching every point. And Nike will be waiting to see whether the player wearing its new collection can produce another defining moment. A deep run would change the conversation again. A strong first week would establish consistency. A victory over a seeded opponent would reinforce her status as one of the tournament's most dangerous rising players. And a second week appearance would give Nike the competitive proof needed to match the commercial excitement. The answer is possible, but it is